I suggest everyone have the family meeting, older, younger kids. We got a 19-year gap. It doesn't matter. And the thing is I told them too, it's not just about the business and why you're busy. It's like, okay, here's where my values lie. And understand, I want to create this money not just because I want this home or this or that. It's because I want to give it back. That's my value code, right? So.
Hey, welcome to another great episode of the Gym Owners Growth Zone podcast, the show designed to help gym owners improve and grow their businesses. I'm your host, Andres Escobar, and I'm so grateful to have you join us today. Today, we have part 1 of 2 with Tim Rexius, the co-founder and owner of Iron Heaven Gyms and Rexius Nutrition, a chain of nutrition stores across the U.S. and many other successful enterprises across 6 countries. Last but not least, he's a father to 6 children and husband to an amazing wife, Brittany. Yes, 6 children. If this is your first time listening to our show, please consider subscribing to the podcast and share this episode with someone whom you think you'll enjoy it. Well, they'll enjoy it. I know you'll enjoy this. As we dive into this episode, listen to how his beliefs helped him build a legacy and how his choices reflect the long game in his plan. And I'm sure you're going to inspire you and help you as it did me. Hey y'all, welcome to the show, everybody. I have Tim Rexius. He is next. I want to thank you, Tim, for coming on the show. Appreciate you being here. I love how we met and we just continue talking and I think this show is going to be a 2-part. Let me just preface this. I think it's going to be 2-part. I will let everybody know, but this is going to be super cool. Tim's coming from his office and his gym, and go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. This is awesome. My name's Tim Rexius. I am the president and CEO of the Rexius Nutrition Store chain across the United States. I'm also the co-founder and co-owner of Iron Heaven Gyms fitness facilities here in Omaha, Nebraska. We have 3 gyms. Also the owner of Vital Health International Nutraceuticals and the Omaha Protein Popcorn Company. Proud to say, as of this week, we are now distributing in 7 countries. So, and then I run a podcast too, which we're about to kick back off. But, we met, it was at Gym Con, just, shooting the breeze, and, when you meet genuinely, like, really cool people, you're one of them, and and all of a sudden, like, Steve and I are like, well, we gotta get to the airport, I'll drive you. I'm like, you're the best damn Uber driver I've ever had, bro. Like, it was awesome. Yeah. So,
we almost had, we should have been recording
the whole time.
Like, that would have been so good.
100%.
It was such a good story.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was like, dude, you got to be on the show. And that's why I'm telling you, it's going to be a 2-part. Like, I know for sure. I'm not holding you back. Let's just go and enjoy the ride, everybody, guys.
So, yeah.
So we met for sure. And so you shared a quick story in the car. Speaking of in that car ride, which my pleasure, by the way. It was a really cool ride. You didn't have it easy, and I know we're gonna get into it, but you got to owning all these enterprises. I mean, you're building an empire.
Yeah.
Is what you're doing, and I love this because gym owners, if you're building your gym, it's fantastic. But what outside relates to the gym industry, like nutrition, protein popcorn, those things, like, those relate to your audience, to your customers. Your customers would love to have these products. And so Tim created these products because there was a need. And so anyways, Tim, please, I wish I could tell your story, but you're the one that can do it better.
Right.
So please tell us how you got here.
I'll start back at the beginning. I started, a lot of what I do now is speaking on entrepreneurship and ownership. That's a big passion of mine. I've done almost 70 speeches since August to high schools and universities. And honestly, it's kind of the whole throwing it back, right? I go back to my senior high school, junior high school, something like that. And I was taking a marketing class, and the local GNC Shop owner, who probably had community service hours after I got to know him, but that's besides the point. He'll watch this. He'll give me some guff for that. But he came and spoke on what he did. That was a terrible speech, but I sat there going, you get paid to talk about lifting weights and slamming protein shakes. Like, that's a job. I got to do that. So, and plus I was spending all my money there. I was like, you have to hire me. And it's my first lesson in persistence. He goes, I don't need you. Okay, cool. See you tomorrow. I go in there every day for 14 days. I'm like, it's going to be a lot less hectic for you if you just hire me. So he did. And I started slinging supplements back in 1998. I was a junior in high school, going to my senior in high school, and worked there through college. And I found a real passion there. But I was also broke. Like, I'm broke. I got hurt in the NFL Combine in 03, 04. Shattered my shoulder. And again, my pro dreams lasted about 36 hours, right? And there's a stint in there where I was actually homeless for 6 months, sleeping in my Oldsmobile. I mean, just really at a bad stage, and then I had a baby coming. So I told my boss, wow, you've got to give me some sort of commission. Like, he goes, well, it doesn't really work like that here. I'm like, oh, it does. So, if anybody's familiar with GNC, they had the old gold card, right? And you had to pay $20 for the gold card. And I was able to make it work so your purchase paid for the gold card. And he goes, I'll give you $2 a gold card. Nobody's ever sold more than 30 in a month. I did 500. And so I got a $1,000 check, and I'm like, oh man, that covers, rent and beer money and all the stuff I was doing at, 22 years old. And and then he turned the whole thing. I took that store from $250,000 or $300,000 to $500,000 in a year, made some money, but I, wanted to start my own nutrition store, tried to buy a GNC, didn't have the financial wherewithal, no parents to co-sign. And honestly, after a college degree, no education on how to do alternative financing, because they don't teach that. And if you don't have a rich mommy and daddy, which I think a lot of your gym owners will know how hard it is to get that first loan, So I ended up, selling a customer some product, and they were mad at me, and I talked him out of not being mad at me, and then he offered me a job. So I got to go work in the biomechanical engineering field, chemistry, for about 6.5 years, in and out of Washington and around the Midwest, well, around the whole U.S., honestly. So my background, obviously, I have my master's in business and in marketing, but I also have it in organic chemistry. So I've been inventing supplements for the better part of 20 years now, almost. And it wasn't until about 2010, market crash, housing crash. I lost my tail. All my money was in real estate. And I hated my job. I loved what I did. I hated the people I had to work with, aka Washington, D.C. politicians. So it really did eat my soul. I hated it. So I came back to Omaha, Nebraska, sold everything I owned. So I sold so much stuff on eBay that my kids thought they were next. If it wasn't bolted to the ground, it was for sale, right? So, and I get that first lease, and it was really hard to get, and sold and started my first store in 2010, and 40 locations later in 10 states, here we are, all with no venture money, no trust fund, just one store after another. And I'm very dedicated to living well beneath my means to make sure that the business has, empire status. Because, if you want to build an empire, it's not done in 5 or 10. And I care more about legacy than I do about what kind of car I drive. So it's always been me. And that's, I think at one point in 2016, we're 6 years in, we're making good money. It's right before we started the first gym. Every employee of mine had a nicer car than I did, and a newer car than I did. Mine was 15, 16 years old, 200,000 miles. Every time I got a new dent on the car, I'd throw a new logo over it. Nobody would know. I looked like a NASCAR at that point. I was selling advertising space on the vehicle, And finally, it was my wife was like, "You're not poor. Get a new car." So. And fast forward into the gym stuff, like it's going well. And when I met my wife, we're a combined family, and I had 3 kids, she had 2, and when she joined in with the Rexius company in 2014, we went from 1 state of operation to 5 states in a year. To show you, like, having a good partner, how important that is, and somebody that and somebody else just to call me on my BS and challenge me, which my wife does a very good job of doing this, and be like, "Oh no, this makes me double down on my ideas." Now I am definitely a jump before I know if there's a parachute type. I'm risky, absolutely, But I've always been taught the adage: if you don't believe in you, nobody else will. The banker certainly isn't going to. So,
Right.
so yeah.
Belief is huge. Belief is huge.
Well, and then so we got married, and here's the thing: we're engaged. Well, she was my first female sponsored athlete in my stores, competing in women's figure and bikini competitions. Right. So we start dating, and I realized how I've outkicked my coverage a long way. She's significantly better looking than me. So I'm like, I should get back into this bodybuilding thing so I can lock this girl down. So I look.
That's funny. I didn't know that part of the story.
Oh
That's
yeah,
great.
dude. Like, I'm always big, but I mean, I'm like, shit, I hadn't seen my abs since the '90s. So,
Yeah.
so I started prepping for shows, and it was a lot of fun. It was very hard, and then they came out with the classic division. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to drop some weight, and I mean, I was sub 4%. I think I dipped at 3.91% my last show, and I don't look like it now. So no comments necessary.
That's all right. We don't need that.
So
That's not.
So I'm prepping for this show, and I'm for about 2 straight years. I've been competing, and it was right around January of 2017. I'm a father of 5. I'm 37 years old. And I'm getting ready for this show out in Los Angeles. And 2 weeks before the show, I'll call them Globo Gym. So Globo Gym kicked me out of the gym. So said I was intimidating other guests. I go, well, first of all, I talk more than I lift because I'm a salesman. So, and 2, I was posing in their upstairs classroom at 9:00 at night after my kids were asleep. I put them to bed, and then, I would go up there. Plus, I didn't want anybody to see me in posing trunks because I hate that. I think it's not if my dad saw me in posing trunks, he'd slap me, because they're tiny little, it's like a bikini for dudes, right? So, and so and nobody's up there. And it really is that my supplement business threatened that gym's supplement business, and that's what it was. They thought I was taking their customers. Well, I mean, of course I am. I'm way more likable than you are. That's not my fault. So I'm pissed. And my wife had always wanted to open a gym, and I'll be 100% honest. I'm like, no, gyms are too expensive. It's, it's way overhead. I didn't want to do it. So we got to LA. I compete. I win the show. Go to a friend of mine's gym in East Los Angeles at that time it was called Kratos. It's shut down since then, but it was warehouse style, God of War painted on the wall, movies 300, which I'm a fanatic, right? Like Leonidas 300, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And the young man that was helping me prep for my show and coaching, like with my meals, Nick Langer, who was running a shop for me at the time. He was an employee, and Nick's a great kid. And doing a great job, and he's in his he's in his mid-20s at this time. But it doesn't matter your age. If you're cut from the same cloth,
Yeah.
And I was making a big change in my business, my acumen, my business theory at the time that, employees are great, partners are better, because they have skin in the game. And when you're gonna go horizontal or vertical, however you want to look at it in different businesses, as we just briefly touched on, you need somebody else that cares as much as you do. And it absolutely is necessary, which means as an owner, you have to be willing to give up profit and responsibility. So he also was at this gym and was like, hey, you should open a gym like this.
That's huge right there, Tim, right? Like you just gave a nugget out and you disguised it like nothing. Bro, this is huge. Having somebody, the partners are so much. Partners are such a big deal, and finding the right one and giving up, but you got to give up a little bit of the profits, and like you just mentioned,
you do. And the decision making, and that's, I think sometimes it's not even the profit so much as it is the control. And after you've built things, it's so hard to delegate out control to somebody else. If you have an employee, you always know you're still the boss. And there's a certain level of security with that, right? So, and I get that. And I am a control freak, 100%. But in the end of the day, you need someone else's talent. You need somebody else's passion. You cannot do it all. And you cannot pay people enough to ever care as much as you do. It's never possible. And if you give them too much control and power as an employee, eventually they become your competitor. Why wouldn't they? If they're fully in control, making all the decisions for less money as an owner, you will literally be training your competition in the next 5 years. And so here I have this kid. He's talented. He's motivated, and our value structure was very much in line. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, what are your morals and your values? That's literally it. It's not so much business acumen. It's not so much goal setting. That comes down the road. But are you aligned morally? I mean, do you guys? I mean, that's really what it comes down to more than anything. Are you the type to screw somebody over a buck? Or are you the type of guy who make that tough, integrity-based decision and take a financial loss to do what's right? So, and I'm not going to judge people either which way, shape, or form, but I know how I am. I mean, do you need to get paid today, or are you willing to build an empire and understand that I care more about legacy in 100 years than I do about what kind of car I drive now? And so these are the conversations we had. And my wife wanted to open this gym. So, and here's the thing. Now, preface this gym conversation. I hadn't drank in like 6 months before this show or ate any carbs at all because I was on keto. So they're trying to talk me into this gym thing, and I'm like, I don't know. They pretty much got me drunk on a plane from LAX back to Omaha. By the time we landed, we had 7 cocktail napkins, we had a logo, we had a business plan, and we signed the lease about a week later. So I didn't take a lot of time to think about it, and I blame them, and I blame the alcohol.
And the Wi-Fi on the plane.
The Wi-Fi on the plane and the alcohol by American Airlines. So, but once we make a decision to do something, and it's funny with our business partner, because my wife is, she runs all the financial aspects as far as daily accounting, and like we're going to partner with Nick and his wife Danny. I said, well, and this is, I actually said this with the gym launch people yesterday. We were on a Zoom as well, and I said, you have the right person when I tell them, like, listen, you're going to be my partner, which means I have to fire you as an employee. And usually people because I've had this conversation a few times over the years, the safety net's gone. And then people are like, oh, they like the idea of being an owner, but not the actual assertion into it, right? Nick was the perfect partner because he goes, good, because I don't want you telling me what to do. Fabulous. Let's go. Because now you're going to take that weight on your shoulders too, and it's not all on me. I mean, what's easier to squat 500 pounds by yourself or 2 people tandem? 2 people tandem. So, so, and the gym ownership thing, brother, it hit snags from day one. I mean, there wasn't not one thing went right. I mean, everything went wrong.
Yeah. And by the way, dude, and that's perfect. That's like the intro. We can go on forever. Honestly, like I feel, but I want to touch base on a couple questions that I think will extract these points, and it'll help kind of capsulize some of these points and help people like take away from this interview and be like, yes, that's exactly it, bro. So this is it. So I like this question because to me, life's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And ups and downs, lefts and rights, turns. It just takes you for a spin. But if we don't have these tracks in the roller coaster, we're gonna the rails. We're gonna go off. We're gonna go off the rails. So, in life, in this journey that you're on, what has been some of the tracks and the rails that's kept you going in that goal, that legacy goal that you've been talking about?
I am significantly more afraid on my deathbed of regretting the things that I was too scared to try versus screwing up. And, if you want a really great perspective on life, go to an old folks home. I'm very blessed that my mother, she was an RN charge nurse in the Nebraska Veterans Home for 40 years. And so I spent a lot of time there as a kid and all the way through high school, going to see my mom while she's working with these World War II vets who were in their last stages of life. And getting to talk to these old men and women about, their lives and all these things. One, we have it so easy. And we have a tendency to be perpetual complainers, especially in the United States. We bitch for the sake of bitching, and we just do. We bitch to bitch about bitching that somebody else is bitching about. It's absolutely a colossal waste of time. So, and focusing on the fact that 98% of us have never been in war. We've never had a gunshot or, another country, all those kind of things that our greatest generation faced. But as you sit there, they don't talk. Not a single one of them ever said they regretted doing anything. The only regrets any of these people had was the stuff that they were too scared to try and they missed out on, that bypassed them. And it really is, and that'll give you perspective. So I'm willing. I've been broke twice in my life and came back. I was at, I made, here I go in the NFL, $1 million contracts, hurt, career's over. Here I am making really good money in my 20s, houses, all this stuff. Housing crash causes me to go bankrupt. Start a new business, then I go through a divorce. And anybody else has been through that, and all of a sudden that takes all my income for how many years, right? Buying out an X of a business that they didn't work in. There's going to be people listening to this podcast who are going through that right now, and I'm telling you, it gets brighter on the other side. Just keep hustling, right? So, and I've gone through it so many times. I'm not afraid to fail, but I am fiercely competitive, so I don't like doing it. But I'm going to find a way to win. So, that's business, and everything's going to screw up. Nothing will go according to plan. You're going to go broke. There's going to be decisions to be made where do I pay this one or do I pay this one? And that's right. It's going to happen even in your 40s, like I am now. Like, are there times where there's some crazy shit going on and I've got to make some pretty tough decisions? Yeah, to do one this week. I mean, last week I placed 2 purchase orders for my brand, pretty large. And my staff did not inform me of another division of our warehouse that I don't walk down to very often. Oh, hey, by the way, we're out of these 7 things. Well, shit. Because that's $100,000 additional purchase order that I was not planning on after I just placed another $100,000. Right. Now, I got money, don't get me wrong, but I ain't got just $200,000 sitting around that ain't earmarked for something. So,
of course, yeah. If you have a budget, listen, it's not an endless budget, Yeah. We're not talking, Elon or Saudi Arabia money,
Oh no, there ain't no family money here. I'm no prince of nothing. I gotta make this work, and it's no different than with the gyms. It's in that this is why I've grown, honestly, because I'm willing to take anything I make over. We have our budget, right? We in our home. We know what we're going to spend our money on. We know that we're probably in a significantly higher income class than what people think we would be, because I don't do stuff for keeping up with the Joneses. I didn't buy the house everybody else bought. I bought a unique fixer-upper opportunity. I don't buy my...
We joked around that, right? Farm fix. You got a farm
fix. Farm fix, man. I do a lot of stuff with duct tape, man. So there was a raccoon living in my attic when I moved in my house. That's how bad it was. That collapsed on the house inspector, like bad, right? So... But my kid,
I just want to go ahead and put what we just said.
Yeah,
it's basically you're a man with no regrets.
Yeah,
and it's interesting enough. I actually went through a series, like a 7-book series called "Men with No Regret," and it was impactful. It really helped me shape my life and understand the life I wanted to live.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I love that, because you have to push forward. And listen, you bought that thing. Again, it's a good story because, damn, did I regret buying that thing? Well, it would have been nice to know that these people, we'll figure it out. We move forward. We figure it out. We move.
And as the head of any company you're in, if you show a lack of confidence, vision, and clarity, everyone else is going to triple the amount of anxiety than what you might be showing externally. Now, I'm always... A CEO should be a duck on a pond. You should be calm, floating on top, and your legs churning 1,000 miles a minute under the water. You don't get to share those levels of insecurities with your team. You just don't get to. Because they're going to base their confidence in what they're doing for you as part of the team on your level of confidence in a storm. And you have to be stoic. You have to be steadfast. And it just absolutely is. And it's amazing how people will follow you into battle if you're 100% confident in your ability to figure it out. Now, I'm always transparent. I don't bullshit them. But they don't get to see the feet under the water churning 1,000 miles a minute. That's my job. That's my responsibility.
Yeah.
So I don't put that on to other people, which makes it use. But that's like us. Could I buy my kids nicer cars? Sure. Am I? Hell no. Simple fact is, my parents nailed it. They gave me the biggest piece of junk. So will my kids. Even if I won $1 billion tomorrow, my kids are still going to drive that, one car with only one working door handle because that builds character. So, but by being committed to that, like right now in the gyms, we're looking at another expansion, and I kind
That's
of
right. You're opening a fourth gym, right?
well, we're working on a fourth location and buying a
Big
building
expansion.
for the second one, and just happened yesterday,
Yeah.
taking over our two neighbors' bays and doubling the size of our original gym to the largest one that we have. So,
Amazing.
which means that we, any money that we're making right now is nice, right? We have to get very comfortable with that not being accessible for another 2 or 3 years again. And it's a tough decision business owners face. You start to have some success, you start to have some money. And that's where growth stops for most owners because they don't want to give up this new accustomed lifestyle that they're liking. They like seeing that extra 10 grand in the bank account, right? Shit, I'm a baller. I can go on a little vacation. I can do this for my wife. I can do this for my kids. And it is very hard as a father. I have 6 children, so I want to give them the best that I can. But I'm not going to inhibit the growth for my grandkids and my great grandkids for this multi-generational business I'm trying to build based on an extra vacation or an extra nice vacation or a nicer car. Which means that, if we're making an extra 10 grand and I got to go put it back into the business because I have an opportunity to secure my area, my community, keep competitors at bay, all those things that come with growth and expansion, I've got to take that opportunity. And I've seen just too many business owners get addicted to that level, that first bit of success, and that inhibits any growth potential at all.
Go is a beautiful word to hear when you're scoring on the soccer field. This last World Cup was won by Argentina because of one important player. Yeah, you got it. It was the goalie. He secured the win for the team, and in the same way, ReviewBiz platform will catch negative reviews before they go online. In addition, it helps you score and promote fresh new reviews so you can crush the competition. So don't let those big box gyms take your clients. ReviewBiz will help you build your online presence and turn your own members into your best sales reps. Get your first 5 reviews for only $1. All you got to do is go to reviewbiz.io/try to get started. Tim, hearing you talking about legacy and for your children and grandchildren, it's a wake-up call, right? It's like, hey, listen, not just for your children, but for your children's children and then beyond, right? And so it's like, okay, I'm teaching my children, and I'm talking to myself. I'm speaking to myself as well. It's like, hey, listen, how do I teach my children to teach my grandchildren? Not just so they learn, but so they learn how to teach them. And obviously more is caught than taught. We've heard that. Super important. But I don't know if there is a formula that you take how to teach your children to teach your grandchildren. That I don't think has been really spoken. I mean, and I think about the Bible a little bit. It's like Moses had Joshua, but then after Joshua, you don't really hear about many people. Like it gets lost there a little bit, right? And so, and it's interesting because we might be looking for this promised land, but we might not be able to enter it as well. But it's okay. Like, listen, I lived my life. This journey that we've just been on, I've enjoyed it. Enjoy the ride and stuff. But anyways, I'm going deep, but it's also like
No, exactly.
this is the
I'm glad.
conversation that I love.
I'm glad that you brought it up because it comes from my faith. Honestly,
Right.
it was I've heard several. My wife are very involved in our faith. I mean, our honeymoon was a mission trip to Puerto Penasco, Mexico, building homes for poor people. That was our honeymoon.
That's the honeymoon.
That was a honeymoon. We had 4 days in the desert with no shower. You really get used to each other after that, because you
And you get to know the person though,
real well.
in the struggles.
No
Like,
phone,
I
no
love it.
electricity, no running water, just in a tent, sandstorms, But it was great. And the thing is for us, like our faith is a massive part of us. And so I had heard a pastor give a speech once and about his family meeting. And, I poured in, I listened to it. I said, explain to me what you mean. He goes, listen, you're doing these big things and you're heading this direction. If you don't explain to your kids and remind them twice a year at a big family meeting why dad and mom do what they do and literally explain it to them. You're not building their character to repeat the process. And so I have a family meeting, big dinner. Everybody's coming. I mean, my oldest daughter, my son-in-law, all my kids, down to the 4-year-old. Anybody who's involved in my family is going to sit down at the table. I'm going to feed them, get their bellies full, and they all get to sit there, and I get to give my sermon from the mouth. Like, here is why I do what I do. And the one we did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, really impacted my family, and I saw it. And I had to look at my daughter, who got married. She got married very quick at 20 to 21 years old. And she, that's my girl, right? And I want to throw this massive wedding for her, but at the time, in the short notice in COVID, I'm like, here's the budget. It's very small, and it's very hard as a father to not. I mean, I wanted to throw this girl the biggest wedding you've ever seen. Like, we're talking Princess Diana level, because she deserves it, and that's But I had to explain to them, like, I didn't have the time, and with the timing of it and where this family's going, it was a very small budget. It was a beautiful wedding, and I have a wonderful son-in-law, and that's the most important part.
That is the most important.
But I wanted to do this thing, and I couldn't, and I said, and I had to explain to them, it's because I'm on this mission, and nothing will deter me from this mission, because what this mission does is me building for your kids. And so if I'm able to, as the first generation of doing this, build it for myself, my kids, and my grandkids, that means that we are 2 generations ahead. And this is very common in Spain with their heritage. And I got this from a gentleman who takes companies public. He had talked about taking my companies public. I don't want to do it, but it's a lot of money. Wrong story. So he's a Spaniard, and I go, like, explain your culture. Like, I really just kind of want to know who you are. And I tied it into this faith one. The reason why I'm correlating to this is, in Spain, the wealthy stay wealthy because they're not ever earning money for themselves or their kids. That's already been done. They're earning money for their grandkids. And everyone is saving for 2 generations ahead of them. And the reason being is there's going to be a generation every once in a while that just straight up, pardon my language, shits the bed. And this protects the family for 1,000 years if you're always 2 generations ahead. So it has to start with somebody, and it's starting with me. So I'm doing it for my wife, my family, my kids, and my grandkids. That's my goal over the next 25 years, is to secure them a legacy that lasts beyond just financially, but also like the value structure. This is how this empire was built. And so by having these family meetings and explaining this process to my kids as young as 4 years old, all the way up to 23, this is why I do what I do. This is why I work crazy hours. And so understand, that you kids are important to me, so I don't miss baseball games, and I'll fly everywhere. Now, if I look exhausted, this is why I look exhausted, because I'm working 80 hours and I don't miss anything for the kids. And understand, I want you guys to know that's taxing, but this is why, Dad, I need you guys. If you guys want to get involved in these companies, you're going to earn it, because I'm not giving you a damn thing. Our oldest son works at the gyms. Our oldest daughter's the executive assistant for all 4 companies. She runs the popcorn social media, deals with the international, dual language labeling, and each of the kids is involved to a certain degree. My wife, she'll run a gym shift if somebody's sick. She'll take the 4-year-old, and he's out there walking around with little bags of protein popcorn, and gym members, you want to buy some popcorn? And it's the greatest sale ever, because you can't tell a 4-year-old no. And it's amazing, these speeches, and I'm saying this to every owner that watches this, you need to tell your family why you're doing what you're doing. You need to make this statement so that they understand. And then that way, if you want your kids to get involved, you want your family, brothers, sisters to get involved, they need to understand the mission, your clarity for the mission, and then invite them to be part of the process, but say, here's how it's done. So, yeah.
Well, Tim, it's interesting. Like, invite them on the mission, right? Don't leave them behind.
No.
They have them come alongside with you. Obviously, even a 4-year-old can come along with me. He has a role, purpose. I think we underestimate the value of a kid. That, oh no, let's overprotect him. Let's helicopter parent him. Let's make sure that he does. It pains me when I see it, and I think I did it a little bit in the early stages, but then at the same time, my wife's like, no, let them mess up, let them go ahead and do things and stuff. But going back to this, like, bring them on the mission is so important, because they now have a role, they have purpose as well, and they feel important. And so how if you don't make them feel important and value their opinion, then how are they going to function in the world? How is their mental stability going to be when somebody else comes along? They don't believe in them, but they need to be, their belief system has to be higher than than
Well,
what somebody else thinks. And
well, and here's the thing: we've all worked in businesses at one point in time or another, where there were other family members in the business for the boss that we had. And there's two ways that family and business goes. One, they take advantage of it in the fact that I don't have to do as much work as you, and I can't get fired because I'm the golden child of the owner, right? And then it's the other way where
right,
they'll do it twice as straight and narrow to prove a point that they're in a position to take this over. And so I've seen it both ways. And so I told my kids, like, here's two ways. And I was very, very, very verbal with them on it. I said, if you're my child and you're working in our business, I expect you to do it twice as good and twice as straight and narrow as everyone else, because you're going to be held to a standard. And everyone's going to assume that you're only here because you're my kid and not because you've earned it. So you need to prove a point that you've earned it. And I can happily say that my kids are by far our best staff members at damn near everywhere we do because of this guiding principle. So that if someday they take over something, there's no
yeah,
question with anyone else around in the team that they're there. So, yeah.
huge, huge. I mean, listen, you probably need to have your children listen to this. And I'm not talking about you, Tim. The audience, like, this is a great episode. This is something that you might not be vocalizing and having these meetings like Tim is having. And truth be known, I don't think I have every now and then I'll have a structured like meeting, and you know right now I do. There's a certain time I say, hey, listen, guys, I'm on a mission. I'm doing something, but I don't bring them along. I say, hey, for the next 90 days, I'm not going to be that much available.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. But now, Tim and we actually brought in my son and my daughter on the team. They're actually doing things for us as well. So, and we're going to a conference next week, and they're going to be participating, and they're going to be there,
Awesome. Yeah.
and that's going to be, it's going to be fun. Like I can't wait for next week, and this conference is going to be transformational for us, and next
Well,
level stuff.
well,
But it's really
it's
cool.
huge. And I suggest everyone have the family meeting, older, younger kids. We got a 19-year gap. It doesn't matter. And the thing is I told them too, it's not just about the business and why you're busy. It's like, okay, here's where my values lie. And understand, I want to create this money not just because I want this home or this or that. It's because I want to give it back. That's my value code, right? So my wife and I had read a story several years ago about this church in Florida that had saved up, I want to say like 15 million. They had been, doing the whole drive to buy the land, build the new building or whatever. And the congregation prayed, and they decided that the best way to introduce people to their faith was to go do something selfless for them. So instead of building the building, they went down to the local major hospital, took the 100 most outdue and largest medical bills and paid them all off instead.
Wow.
Then they went door to door of all 100 people, gave them a copy of the paid invoice, and introduced their faith, that our faith told us to take care of you. Now that is kingdom building, brother. It makes the hair on the back of my
Wow.
neck stand up.
It does.
So that's what I want to do, like verbatim. Like, I want to do this. And so for me to make a truly impact on this world, I'm going to need
That's how you raise the dead,
that.
heal the sick.
Yeah.
Come on.
I got to go next level, and I've got to get to the point. So that I can have that kind of, my wife and I call it FU money. I need that FU money level. And so
Yeah.
I can't get there being the top 1%. I need to get to the top
No.
0.1%. And that's where I'm at right now. I want to go from the top
Love it.
1 to the top 0.1, because that's when you can make major impact around you.
And you know what? People listening right now be like, oh man, I want to be that 0.1%. No, listen. Figure out where you're at right now and just get better.
Yeah.
Like it might be small right now. You might be just starting your gym, or you're in a slump right now, but just get better. That's all. Tim's just talking about going to the next level, where
Yeah.
he's in a different stage of life, and he's a different level, but what's your next? What's your next go? And the FU money is amazing, because you get so much from giving. It's just
I get way more from giving other people's, and that actually is a translation into the businesses, right? So it's the same thing. I want to bring everybody up with me. And a major shift about the time we opened the gym, about the first year or two of opening our gym, then our second gym, was a major shift in my mindset, honestly, and just my value code. And as I'm getting older, all of a sudden I got more gray hair than colored hair, which is a whole other conversation. And, you know, and I'm trying to remember back when I was 22, trying to start my first store, my first gym, and I had no money and I had no ability to get that kind of money, which is a lot of money, right? And all of a sudden I've got this awesome staff. We're going into 2019, and I told my wife, I'm like, I think we need to make a change. I think, and it's a change that makes us less money. And she's like, what? You know? And so I got to really sell this, right? Because it's her income too. It's our family. And why am I doing this? And, I had 12 of my own stores on top of all the franchises we already had at the time. And I said, I'm only as good as the staff around me. People can love me, watch the podcast I do the public speeches, and that's great. But if they walk into a store in this city or that city, and the person behind the counter that I employ does a terrible job or doesn't care, it's game over. When you're competing in a market of Amazon, speaking technology, the buck stops. And so if I have a phenomenal employee, they should be an owner. So I have sold 10 out of 12 of my stores already to my managers.
Wow.
In the last 2.5 years, 3 years. And I'm selling one more. Wow. I'll be down to the original OG location for the Rexius because that's where my kids learned to ride their bikes, was in the back of the shop. So my wife says I can't sell it. Yeah. And I live 2 blocks from there. But
my gosh.
And here's the thing is, brother, I sold almost all of them for cost. No profit.
Yeah.
After Norfolk, Nebraska, and Josh is going to kill me when he sees this, the owner. That store probably appraised around $300,000, and we sold it to him for assets only, for about literally about 15% of the price. And in recent,
but you still have some royalties.
I have royalties built in and stuff. It's about 85% less income versus owning it. But
this reminds me of a principal as a friend, and he was actually my boss for a little bit. He said, "Listen, I'd rather make 1% of somebody else's, 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own efforts."
100%.
And this is exactly what you're talking about. Like, listen, you're giving up right now, but you're looking at the long game. And this is what this episode's about. This is the long game. If you're in the gym industry for the long game, and your hair doesn't stand up and your ears don't perk up, then wake up.
Well, you think about it this way, like, right? If I have this mission, to build this multi-generational business with my family, have the kind of money that allows me to go do what that church in Florida did and pay off medical bills and make a major kingdom impact, what's better than just me doing that? Having 50 of me's doing that. And so I want everyone getting rich around me. That's the goal. And I tell them all the same thing. So yeah, selling a store for $300,000, I sell it for 45, which my board of directors wanted to have me committed. And I've done this like 9 times. And I'm like, here's my mission. If you don't believe in it, I'll buy you out. That's literally what it is. There's non-discussional. And so then they see me open a gym. They're like, hey, how do you open a gym? Oh, here's the blueprint. And so why? Because now I have franchisees who own 4 or 5 businesses too. So I've been able to pass this on and teach this. Not just teach a man to fish. I'm teaching a man how to run a fishing company.
Man.
And so
come on, man.
And so all of a sudden everyone all over is doing it, and we're all on the same mission. Imagine the kind of impact we can have on our society. Because at the end of the day, having wealth and being able to use that towards your community is going to make a massive difference. And so I was trying to be what I needed at that age and have somebody give me a chance. And that's what I've been doing ever since then. And, it's a lot less income now, but I have a happy franchisee or happy business partner for the next 30 years will reap more dividends than me trying to sell something for an extra $200,000 now.
The thing, so this is, some people don't think, having money is great, but having access to wealth is even greater.
Yep.
Right? So you have access, like if you needed to take out a loan for something, boom. And I think you talked to, you and I have a conversation like, hey, listen, because of nutrition companies, I was able, to leverage that to get the gyms. I think that's what you.
Yeah, it is. So you use one successful business. I would say this to people like, listen, you need 2 years of buckling down, And I like to teach people through my podcast and speeches how to do this, right? Have multiple LLCs. We all like the advantage write-offs of having LLCs, but it needs to be detached from your actual operating business. And here's why. So if you're going to write off the mileage, get the car, do the tax benefits that are there for you. Absolutely. Just have it in a separate LLC, not the one operating your gym or your store. Reason being is you need to show profitable, very clean tax returns. And once you have that for like 2, 3, especially 3 years is kind of the magic number, you can then take that tax return and leverage that profit to open another business, whether it be a completely parallel move, a second location, or a linear move or a vertical move where it's another business in the same industry. And so that's what we did with Rexius, right? So Rexius had the money. The bank had no interest in doing a gym that was our particular hardcore style, especially our size, the equipment we wanted. Because here's how a bank looks at it, right? They're looking at it when you go belly up. That's how a banker looks at it. It's not about are they going to be successful. When they shut down, what am I left with for assets? And they're looking at gym equipment as all this heavy ass stuff that now they have to find storage units for, and especially cardio, temperature control. They're going to get 25 cents on the dollar. They're going to have to pay movers and all this crap. And so that's why they hate loaning gym businesses. And, but I said, well, hey, I have this multi-million-dollar nutrition business. I will co-sign. And that's me risking what I've built, but I also believed in what we were doing. I believed in our partners. I believed in my wife. And everybody said, you're nuts. And we started out with, we're going to have a member cap. It's only going to be cool people, all that dumb shit that we did. And we're going to play hard rock and hard rap, whatever. And people loved it.
Man, that was such a fun episode. I really enjoyed how Tim explained generational wealth as a long-term vision goal and a purpose for life. I hope you found this episode as informative and valuable as I did. If you have any questions or feedback about today's show, feel free to connect with us on Instagram with @ReviewBiz and me with @MeetEsco. What was your favorite takeaway from this episode? Connect and share a message with me on IG, like I just said, @MeetEsco with myself. We would love to hear your thoughts. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode today. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the show on the platform you're currently listening on. And remember to leave us a rating and review. Of course, it can improve our show with your feedback. It also means the world to us. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the place to get this amazing content and plus more. As always, I want to thank you so much for your encouragement, and I truly appreciate you listening to the podcast and helping us improve with your comments. And I'll be seeing you next time in the Growth Zone.